thank you for being interested in these occupation events around the world. Obviously, it's really encouraging to see a lot of people come out and support something new and have a discussion in a public space about something that solutions that we can have for society. This isn't the only way to run a society. This isn't the only way that we can be living. And the more you do your research and start asking questions, I think the more you'll come across good information and good alternatives. And I suggest looking into the Venus Project or the Zeitgeist Movement if you want to know more. And thank you for watching.
I guess I grew up in the United States, and when I was entering university, 9/11 happened and the war happened, and my generation seemed fairly apathetic. I think at that time we didn't have time to digest what was going on. And now there seems to be a really rising consciousness with all of the disasters that have gone on, and young people are starting to put the concepts together. Like yesterday I was talking to someone who was 19 years old, and he was really passionate about being here, and he said it was the first protest that he's ever been to. And so it's really exciting to see young people finding action and critiquing the system they're a part of, asking questions about inequality, not just here in Toronto, but all over the world.
So how many years did you work in the financial industry?
I'm still in it.
You're still working there, and this is what you're doing on the weekends? So how does this work? I mean, how has this identity crisis come about?
It's terrible. It's really, I have a total double life. So I do activism in my free time. Sure. And like the 99%, 1%, I don't support that at all. It's 100%. We need to have a new society for everybody, or else you're going to have a lot of conflict. If people can't see how they would function or how they would belong in that kind of society, and you're against them in some way, then I think it's not going to function.
Yeah.
And you're going to have conflict.
And then it just becomes individualism again, right? Like, oh, I'm not buying that, so I'm better than you. And it's really cool to see like a collaboration with someone who actually works in the financial industry. I think that's really, and I wonder how many people in the financial industry are also starting to.
It's a tough sell at my workplace. I'll tell you.
Really? I mean, do you think there could be?
Hello, my name's Richard Rusko. I was involved with the telecommunications industry through the 70s, installed a great amount of the communications system, Earth satellite in Canada, across Canada, trained men, in Whitby, Andrew Antenna. I felt that communications was an important thing for the world community. I've seen recently, I'm going to make this as brief as I can, so I will only speak to those things that I can prove myself. I've seen the laws broken, 6 judge orders. I was recently taken off a tower because I was concerned about these things, so I managed to get myself up a tower. I was helped by the police, the fire department, and they didn't arrest me because what I was saying that what's important is the good work the police had done, is the good work my judges had done, but somebody in an appointed position was able to deny those things, and it's a policy of unaccountability is, I guess, what I would call it. These things were denied by a probation officer. Her name is Nancy Higgins. I will say names only that I'm not concerned with people coming back to me if they would like to speak about it. This is the truth anyway. So I've seen those things. I've seen fraud committed. I have proof of fraud by government agency. These things, I have proof of these things. So these are the things I have proof in. The fact that our Congress recently, when the Indians needed clean water, they were told, well, for their rights, they would be given water. Water destroyed by our industry. There are so many ills. Our integrity minister has none. John Baird offered me a job back in the early 90s. I was working airports across Ontario. I ran into a problem at the Toronto International Airport working on the radar system. I went in, I spoke to John Baird, I told him the problem. He seemed to be endeared to me, offered me a contract. I suggested to him, seeing as I had done this kind of work, that he could save approximately $20,000 a week if he did something rather simple by rerouting his men. John, some called him Jim, Baird, put his arm around my shoulder and said, Richard, we're not here to save money. The more we spend this year, the more we make next year. So I said, so the money goes out the window? He said, yes. So the money goes right out the window. I didn't take the contract knowing the deplorable state many are elderly are in. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I thought perhaps I could do something from the inside, but felt that was more of a trap than anything. Our Prime Minister suggests he won't touch the trust funds of the elderly and then does that. That's fraud. When you suggest one thing and accept money to do one thing and then don't do that thing, when you make no effort to do those things, that is fraudulent. The list goes on, but perhaps that's all I should say at this moment.